But more importantly, tonight I want to introduce our special guest, who is Logan Loveday, and he is a church revitalization coach. Is that what your title is, Logan?
I think so. We'll go
Okay.
with it.
Okay. But more importantly, you are the pastor of First Baptist Church in Marlboro.
That's
And so,
correct.
um, I glad you could be with us tonight, and we can thank your father-in-law for volunteering you for this webinar tonight. So I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to sit in the background, and I'm going to ask you questions, and I'll watch in the chat for
Awesome.
things. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing tonight on Google and the gospel. Uh, I will say at the beginning, I am no expert on the internet. I'm not an expert on websites, on Google, on anything of that sort, but we found some things that have been working really well, especially as you think about churches that are in need of revitalization or may not have large budgets. And how do we get the gospel out? How do we raise awareness of people in our community that our church exists? Moving beyond them just driving by our buildings, whether we have a church building or don't have a church building. How do we get the word of mouth out? I found this so powerful that 97% of people search online to find local services, including churches. Um, Google and the internet, like you said, is not going away. Google wants to be the main place where you go to look for a restaurant, where you want to go shopping, anything and everything. Google wants to be that place. So they're going to spend money. They have huge teams, huge staff that are programming things and working through technology to make it possible to help find things easier, find information about those. I'm sure if we haven't already this week, in the last week, probably everyone on here has looked up an address through Google Maps. MapQuest, not so much a thing anymore. Google Maps, Apple Maps, all those different things like that. We can easily jump on people's radar and kind of ride the coattails, if you will, of what Google is doing so that our churches come up to the top. And I actually have done quite a bit of researching in our area and New England, and many churches are missing out on this both free and easy tools here. Google is usually the first impression. You know, we used to say the front door of your church was your website. If a church didn't have a website or a good website or one that was maintained, it communicated some things to people when they were looking. Now, I would even think that, and we've noticed that Google is even the front door before our website. We spent actually a year and a half working on different pieces of Google before we edited our website. And people were just, you were easy to find. They weren't really concerned with all the extra church Christian things that we often are so concerned about when we design a website. They want to know some stories about what's happened at the church, where the church is, where the parking is, what are the amenities, what are your hours, how can they get connected. They want to see images and videos. And the easiest way to do that was in a format that they're already used to when they go shopping, when they go on vacation, when they go out to eat, and all these other things by using Google and working through Google Maps and some things like this. Digital outreach is modern evangelism. All right. Jesus said, go into all the world. And today that includes the digital world. So glad, Sandy, that you included that the internet is not going away. And for many of us, the internet is people's first impression. We found post COVID that people were watching our services from 2 to 3 months before visiting. Now we're at 3 to 5 weeks before visiting. So they're already engaged in knowing who we are and knowing way more than their first impression walking in. Many of them not even checking out the website. I would say over 90% of the Connect cards that we get when we ask people how did they hear about us, if it wasn't walking by the church or by a friend, it's by Google. Every time. Google, Google, Google.
Now, how is that different than Because I'm noticing a lot of churches are doing away with their websites and doing just Facebook only. Now, what's the impression of that?
So I think Facebook is still important to have.
Hmm.
You're going to target a certain demographic by using Facebook, but it's limited. You have to have Facebook, you have to have an account. Whereas Google is there for everyone. Whether you have a Google account or not, if you get on the internet, your search engine is usually going to drive you to Google. I mean, the Bing and all those are fighting. Google is the number one there. And when you're using maps and things like that, it's just easier and quicker. There's less steps that you have to get to. We're having that same issue with our streaming things. YouTube is easier because every
Mm,
TV nowadays is a smart TV with YouTube
correct.
built in.
Right.
So that's definitely something we've noticed with Google too, is it just makes it easier for people to find you.
So people really should be careful about doing away with their websites. They should have a website and that's how they're going to find you.
Yeah, yeah, websites are still incredibly important, keeping them up to date. Less is more. And I would say, so if you spend less time on the website, which is important, don't overload it. Don't try to put
Right.
all the things that are churchy on there. Spend that extra time on Google. And
Gotcha.
it's not hard. You can,
Hmm.
once you get started in Google, it kind of builds. And they promote you because of that. It's a part of their algorithm system. Just like you go to a restaurant, one that gets good reviews, one that gets talked about a lot, one that gets edited a lot, automatically begins to float up in their algorithm. And churches aren't really doing this.
Okay.
So capitalize on it while we
So
can.
teach us, teach us.
Yes. Awesome. So, one of the things that you want to do when you're looking at Google is I'm going to share my screen right here on our page right here is claim your business. So, when you go to Google, up in the top corner here, you can go in under your account and link your personal account.
So you have to
Um,
stop your share of your PowerPoint and then share yeah,
I am going to do that so that everyone can see. I made a mistake here. Here we go. Awesome.
perfect.
Everybody see it now? There we go.
Mhm.
So up here on the Google page, if I just go to Google and type in my church or churches in my area, you'll see a list of churches that'll come up. Now, I've spent the time in our area and region making sure that our profile was one of the fullest and had a lot of regular interaction with it so that we could be higher up on the list. When you go into Google up here in the top corner, you'll go through some steps, and we're going to share this because it is kind of a lengthy process. I'm going to send you the information so that you can share with everyone on this. The steps to go through and claim your church as your business. When you do that, it unlocks all these features that you see on the right side here for you to edit, such as making sure you've linked the website, having clear directions. One of the features and the directions you can set up is for your church to be the automatic direction finding tool and location from anyone's home. So if they pull up your church, it'll automatically suggest how to get from wherever they're at, if they're on their phone, to the church. And we found that most people for this are using their cell phones. That's some of the things you can see on the back end in Google is whether they're using a desktop, a laptop, or a phone. And most people are using phones for this. Reviews, you can share some things, make sure your link is, your phone number is in here and it's active and it's not a overwhelmed voicemail box. And then all the features under address, phone, hours, you'll be able to see just like you can see here. If I was to click into all these things, I can edit all the information about it. Put in all the amenities like we have an elevator, a handicap ramp, all the holiday hours, questions and answers that are in here. Reviews, our Facebook is linked to this, so we still have that if people want to do that. Um, and you can see all these things here. Now, one thing that Sandy and I were talking about is most people, if they're on a desktop, aren't scrolling all the way down to see the events on here, to see updates, to see the profiles. But since most people are using their phone, you're not going to have all this other stuff with other churches and other suggestions. When you pull it up on your phone, you're going to have my church or your church with all this information on the right, easily for them to see, nice and catchy. It looks good. Google formats all this to be great for you. So let them work for you in a sense, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Any questions yet?
Nope, not
Nope.
yet.
Awesome. So you want to claim your profile, you want to verify it. You'll notice maybe most more so on Facebook and X and some things like that. You'll get a verification check, this blue shield that's down here. That's important. You want to make sure that people can trust you, and that Google is also going to put you in their algorithm. If you don't verify it, if you don't put in that work, they're not going to do anything really to help you. And all this is free so far. I'm not talking about paying any money for any of this, which is great. So make
And
sure the name, go ahead.
and how long, how much time, are people going to spend updating, and how long does it take Google to get back to you to verify that you are who you are?
So Google, it takes, I think it was about 36 hours for they to verify
Okay.
me. They could send an email. They usually send a phone call. They send a text sometimes too, is a way to do that. To do the initial run through of these things here, I mean, maybe a half hour.
Okay.
The nice thing about it is if Google wants more information or thinks, hey, the people in your community want to know this kind of things when they're looking for churches, they'll send you an email and say, update your hours for Easter. Do you have a handicap ramp? Are you accessible? Do you have a food ministry? They'll ask you things in an email throughout the years and months to make sure that you kind of add and tweak as you go. So that in a sense, they a little bit work for you to make sure you're putting everything on there that people are concerned about.
Yeah, and somebody just said in the chat that theirs was verified within a few minutes.
Yeah, they're getting much
Yeah.
faster. I
Mm.
remember when we first did this almost 4 years ago, started the work. At that time, they were sending postcards in the mail and they
Oh,
wanted you to
wow.
call and stuff. But they've moved much faster on these things. Just, I mean, with the
Yeah,
use of AI and stuff, they're moving quicker too. So.
sure. Great.
So yeah, make sure you got accurate description, your mission, vision. You can put your values on there, link to the website and live stream. Your Instagram, X profiles, YouTube, Facebook, so that people can see. The nice thing about looking on your phone, where most people are going to go when they search churches near me, Baptist church near me, whatever it may be, is on the phone. They're not going to see all these other churches. They're
Right.
just going to see your stuff. And the more you put into yours, the more you edit it, the higher in the list you get. Um,
Great.
Photos, videos, please go in and change them. Once you've verified this and you've linked your account together with this, you can go in and take off ones that are older. Maybe you had some renovation in the building, or maybe somebody put some photos on there. Maybe somebody in the community added some photos when they were there, and that's not really the photos you want as your front photos. You can always change them. You can add videos. I've seen some churches add like welcome videos saying, hey, thanks, you found us on Google. And that'll be like their front
Mm.
video here. So there are some pretty cool things that you want to do in there. You can add Facebook Reels and YouTube Reels if somebody knows how to download those, or if you just do a little snippet from a service, um, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, nothing long. Just put little things in there so people can get an idea of what they're looking for. Worship services, kids and family areas, pastoral staff, special events, whether you use videos or photos are great.
So when
Make sure
they
you're,
see when they see that you're updating here, and that it's current, then they're going to be more apt to want to come and visit.
yes, yes,
Yep.
because if they
Yep.
go to
Yep.
your Google, if they go to Facebook and they see that it's dated or there hasn't been a
Right.
post in a while, they're
Hmm.
not even going to check out your website.
Right.
People
Exactly.
just, their time is important to them.
Hmm.
And if you show that you care and want to get that information into their hands, they're more likely to say, okay, this is a church worth investing in my faith and my time,
Right.
or asking about my faith.
Hmm.
Um,
Good.
so you're seeing a lot of things on mine, customer interactions, how many visits and calls. On the back end, I get a report every week of um, what was looked up. For example, if they Googled church near me, Baptist church near me, what type of device they looked it up on, whether it was a phone, a desktop, PC, laptop, where, like region, state, city, that those kinds of things. Um, I get some other things on the back end to kind of optimize keywords in my website so that they're linked. There's some things like you see here, the profile strength. There's some steps that we still have to do because we just redid our website to kind of connect some of those things. So you're seeing some things on mine that you wouldn't normally see if you just Googled that. And Sandy, I think you have a screen that you can show us that because I'd like
Mhm.
to show everybody what everyone else would see when you Google church.
Yep. So you see it?
Yep. So right here, you got some of the same things on the right side that you're going to see when you do it from a desktop. But you see our website. We have specific key things that we've said we've wanted to have at the front. We know people are, if they're looking for us online, they're definitely wanting to engage online. That's an easy next step for us if they're looking us up. Then somebody usually wants to know about the church or about the staff. We do events and what Sundays look like. And that's pretty much it. You can kind of tell that as you link your profile and you start getting those weekly reports to see what people are actually looking for when they go online or when they check out your website, and then tailor your Google ads to that, your kind of profile to that.
So this information here comes directly from the fact that you, in the back part, put all that information in.
That's correct.
So see, wow, that's a lot of information. So if a person puts up that, they're thinking, wow, this is quite a church.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is it's not something, you'd asked about how much time. I didn't spend a lot of time on it early on. We did a bulk edit to make sure everything was current and looked good enough with what we had.
Right.
And then every so often Google sends me an email and says, "Hey, do you want to change this? Do you want to add to this? Here's a way that you can improve or add some information about that."
Okay, cool.
Yeah, QR codes are great. We're just now getting into the QR codes. I see that in the chat. We're designing some Connect cards for online because we've run into the issue with some Connect cards that we just can't read people's handwriting anymore. So the digital Connect cards are a great way to use that, and so you can do that. Now the challenge with the QR codes is that can be a little bit dependent on if they are looking you up from a desktop. Um, it's a little more challenging to work that through the Google Maps, but I still say have it. You know, just like these other things, why miss out an opportunity of something you can use for sure. So QR codes are great. Reviews and community engagements. You want to scroll down a little bit to the reviews right there. And if you want to click view all Google reviews under the third, let's see, third view right there. So we have 4.9 stars, 26 reviews. I think it's pretty cool. We're
Yeah.
as close as perfection as we can.
Wow.
Um, but this is great because it shows you the views based upon children, Bible, words, worship music. You can look at it, newest and highest rating the way you want. It allows people to upload photos. Um, will you click the newest tab for me there? And you can see right here. So you can see this person right here is a local guide. They were visiting out of town. We loved having them at the church with us for a couple of weeks while they were here in town. But look, he's reviewed 38 times, 43 photos. A random person looking for a church looks for that kind of things. If the Lord is working in their life and the Holy Spirit is moving in their life, when they go on there and they see somebody who has reviewed plenty of places before, gives a review about something else, that matters. That carries trust. And then
Mm.
they did post a little review. So you can ask people for reviews. We ask our church members regularly to post reviews. We ask sometimes first time guests when we do a follow up with them, email, phone call, if they'd leave a review for us. In our newsletters, periodically, we ask people to go leave us a review and put that link in there. Um, you've got to respond to the reviews. I think that's really important to note.
Yeah, I see
Don't
that.
just
Yeah, I
have a
see.
bunch of empty ones. Even the bad reviews, um, respond to those. People want to know and see, are you active? Is this church alive and active? Because if they're not online, right or wrong, people automatically assume that if you're not active online and your information is not current, not up to date, doesn't look like you've spent time investing in it, they equate that to this church is either dead or does not care. Right
So
or
do
wrong.
so do they send you does when somebody reviews, does Google send you something, or do you have to go back and just remember to check out the reviews yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Google sends me an email. That way I
Okay,
can respond to it right in that email or right into my profile and do that.
beautiful. Wow, they do everything for you, huh?
They do. And none of this is paid. None of it, you don't have to pay for this yet. We haven't
Right.
even got to the paid stuff.
Yeah.
Um, So one of the things that we're going to be doing this year, when I was looking up some more information about this, like I said, not an expert on this, is to encourage people when they share reviews, to ask them to share maybe a story of life change. So maybe move beyond just from the great church, like the music, like the style, Bible teaching, for them to share something that was significant or something that was powerful. And this works well, especially for your church members or your
Mm.
regular attenders, to post periodically. Google doesn't care if the same person posts reviews at different times. It still counts as a separate review, and it's helpful for you.
Oh, okay.
There's some other things that you can do to increase your discoverability. Again, this is where it starts to get out of my wheelhouse, and I asked some other people for this, like SEOs, using special phrases or words in your website, like church in or family friendly worship. You can embed the Google map into your website. So that also drives people back to Google if they are going to check your website out first. Make sure you got easy contact on your Google account, like your email. I even think one of the coolest features that it let me do recently was for our phone number. It asks, can people text this phone number? And so it will show a button from Google Maps that not only can they call us, but they can text us. And
Wow.
we've had people text. They want to know what time of service is, or if we have event services or Bible studies during the week, or questions about child dedication and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool as a new feature that they've added, or at least they reminded us to check out.
That's good. That's good.
So that's free stuff. None
Okay.
of that has to be paid. And then Google lets you pay them, but they also, I think that when I first did it, I think they either gave us 1,000 or $500 of a credit for free Google ads. But when I went to prepare for this, apparently now they're giving $10,000 away in free ads.
Wow.
So, if you want to know how to do this, the easiest way to do this, I went and looked it up, and I'm going to do this actually the next couple of weeks with our team, is ChatGPT told me the exact steps to work with Google to apply for their $10,000 nonprofit grant. The way it works is they don't actually give you the money, they just credit your account.
Gotcha. Yep.
So once you set it up and say, I want to start running an ad for our website or for an event, using special keywords, they'll just like have a running tab for you. Right now, I think we spend about $340 a month, is what we currently spend. And we budget for this. Pretty much all of our marketing budget goes towards Google. Um, we use Staples and Outreach, pretty cheap, pretty simple custom things there for any print marketing and things like that. Facebook ads don't work as great as they used to anymore, especially for churches. Um, So we've kind of decided, well, this is really a niche that we've working in, and especially for our area. And so we put our money towards that. It costs me 39 cents an engagement is what the last update was yesterday. And that's an engagement as in they went and they've clicked on several things on our website, either texted us, asked for directions, or they've called the church. That's not just like, oh, they saw it on Google. Google, if I remember this correctly, Google still does you don't pay unless they click on something. So even if they see it, that's a part of their kind of algorithm to be the number one place for searched things. Hospitals, doctors, food, all that good stuff, churches. But then once you start paying, it's to actually have them interact and engage with the content that you post on there. So Google gives away money to make this happen too for nonprofits. It's part of their business plan. They have to do so much a year in order for them to do some stuff. But they're doing this all the time for churches. We've gotten some of that money, and I'm going to try to figure out how to access that $10,000 too,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
apply for that and see how much we can get. So yeah, I thought
So
that was pretty cool.
so where do you do that? So where do you do the so you're going to go back to your screen and show where you um engage with the marketing piece?
Yeah, I can do that right now. So once I go into my business account, um, oh, that was my basic information. You go right into advertise right here, and it'll take you to the Google Ads on the back end. And this is where within the settings and all these things, you can see your click rate and your conversion rate and how much it costs, of a budget for a year, their estimate, when clicks are coming up and down. In this process, when you're setting it all up, they take you through their automatic nonprofit process, which will say, hey, you're awarded this much automatically. I can't remember the first time we did it, if it was 500 or 1,000. And they'll just automatically credit your account once you put in your credit card, your church's credit card information. Once you set your budget for how much you'd like to spend a month, you can really spread that out. Even the money that you get, the credit that you get. Or you can just spend it all at once if you're doing Easter or a Christmas Eve thing, or a vacation Bible school, summer camp in the summer. You choose on that. And then, like I said, I'll send the instructions. I saved all the instructions from
Right.
trying to apply for the $10,000 grant.
Cool. So again, because you just mentioned this, so when you set this up, you can just say, I'm only want to spend $50 a month.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
You set a limit and set a budget of how much you want to spend, whether you
Mhm.
want it to be long term. We just set it up recurring for our website,
Mhm.
and you can actually pay for certain words. So, like if you want to own certain words in your area, like church, I learned this. Billy Graham does that. I believe they still own the words hope and Jesus. So if you type those in the search bar, Billy Graham material is going to come up. At least it used to come up as the top thing. So you can kind of purchase words like that. You have that option to do as well. We did a little bit of that in the beginning. Now that we're kind of in Google's algorithm, we moved it back towards special events or just our website in general.
Okay. So somebody mentioned you have to be careful about the ads Google chooses that flash across your site.
No, no, no. So you actually do not get any ads for on your website. Google Ads is saying, I want my church to show up before other churches or anything else in the search bar. So if someone types church near me, my church is going to show up. My website's going to show up. My Google profile is going to show up. Google Ads is not adding ads to your website. They do not put any ads. This is them promoting you. You can do all the free stuff, and
Yep.
then you can move into where you pay for even more promotion in their algorithms.
Great. Yep. Yep. And then I noticed somebody said that they had gotten the initial 500 when they claimed their church last month. So that's great. Good.
Awesome. So go after the 10,000. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. We are not to the point where we are sharing weekly events or updates on Google. Part of that is our fault, and we're building our kind of media strategy of being more consistent with that. But some of the recommendations is just like you would treat Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, is to post some post a video, pictures, updates on your website. And that would pop up down here in the bottom, the photos and videos would pop up here. And you would have updates that would show up down here that they could scale through. You could decide what order they want to. Like, for example, the two things that we have coming up in the next 2 weeks are our yard sale, our history room. Now, I will tell you that right now, because our history room grand opening tour, this is an outreach event that we've been wanting to do, is kind of an open house. This is linked to our Facebook, and right now we have over 400 people planning to attend or interested in coming to our open house at our church. And we've seen the traffic on the back end when you go into this data and break out all the campaigns that is directly related to this being here as one of the front updates for our church. And that's more interaction than I've ever even had on using like a Facebook ad for an event or anything like that. So I'm really, really encouraging churches, since there is so much you can do for free on Google, spend the time doing this. And then when you begin to spend a little money, if you have a budget, um, tap into their money that they give for nonprofits, and then also begin investing yours here in Google too. Churches spend a lot of money on websites, and I think a good website is important. But make sure you got a good Google, because this is where people are going.
Yeah. Yeah. Invest in both for
Yes,
sure. If you're going to make a change on your website, then it just makes sense to come over here and make the changes over here,
absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know? Yeah. Yep.
Because many times we found when asking people, they've looked at Google before they looked at our website. And that was new for me too. As a church planner, you're like, get a website. And so we did that for years. But now it's, I found you on Google first. And sometimes we've had people bypass our website altogether and say, I found you on Google. And then we went straight and started watching services on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we visited.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we've tracked that. We have a really good first impressions team, really good greeters, and we have one our director in particular. She's really good at what she does with the Connect cards, and we've tracked on our Connect cards the steps that people found our church and heard about us. And Google just continues to be at the forefront. Even though we're a downtown Main Street church,
Right.
it's still, I found you on Google first before I drove by, before I saw it. And
Right.
so if people are there on the internet, as we know they are, they're using it so much regularly and so much more for work. God is using it. There was a way for us to easily get the gospel out. We got to take advantage of these tools as well. And you don't have to be tech savvy. I'm not. This is like, as you can tell, I'm not an expert on this. These are just some things that we've found that have really been helpful before us.
But you've seen the fruit of it.
Yes,
See,
we have.
that's the whole thing. You've seen the fruit of it. Now, somebody's asking, so if you don't have a website or if you don't use a website, can you still use these tools successfully?
Yes, I still think you can use these tools successfully, because a lot of people are moving away from checking out the church website, because a lot of church websites have too much information. This is the kind of information that people want to know. Where is the church service? What does it look like? Can I see a short reel or a photo? Can I call them? Can I ask questions? How do I get directions? And Google does a really good job of giving all that important information and sometimes cutting through the fluff. So even if you don't have a website, you can still use this. You just got to go on and claim your church as your business and
Mm.
start building that account.
Cool. I'm doing this tomorrow.
Awesome.
Tomorrow night when I get home from work, I'm going to be right on this.
Yeah. You mentioned the fruit of this. I mean,
Yeah.
we have people that have come to faith in Christ. We have people that have been baptized, that have
Mm,
decided to get their family back into church, and we can trace it to this. Um, that's what's crazy to me is to see God work through so many platforms of media right now. We think about the Chosen TV series, we
mm,
think about music and what's going on in popular music right now. So people are searching. It's
yeah.
undeniable. The platforms are there. And I think as churches, we got to be responsible to say, hey, we can get in here on this and watch God do something pretty incredible in our
Very
church.
good. Love it. Okay, so you talked about ads, and so we don't have to spend a lot on ads, but it's a, but it's an option.
Yes.
And so, what are some of the other things?
So you can use the ads. Like I said, I think it was about a year and a half. We didn't spend any money on the ads, didn't move forward into the ads there. Um, we really try to post any printed material with a reference to Google on there. You can use that. That's pretty easy to do. Say check us out on Google. There's some, you can Google a photo of that invite to do that, put it on your
Right.
postcard or invite card or something like that. Um, we've done the QR codes on the printed material,
Hmm.
where they drives them right to Google, or it pulls right up the address from Google on their phone when they scan it. That's been pretty cool. There is a platform that Outreach is now promoting, outreach.com, called Glue, and it's a text kind of in church software, and they give you the ability with the QR codes to track that. I'm sure probably others do, but I've just seen them recently do that. They advertised that a lot this Christmas, and we had talked to them about that. It's GLOO, and
I've
they
heard that.
again have free levels. The great thing about a lot of the church platforms is if your church is smaller, it's free to get started in a lot of these things, or you pay kind of based upon church membership and size.
Hmm.
And so these tools are pretty great, pretty helpful. So the Glue worked pretty well with Google for our Christmas Eve services and things like that. We had a QR code.
Cool. Very good. Very good. Well, please, if you have any questions, please put some questions in the chat. We don't want to, we don't want to leave any unanswered questions here if you have that.
And I'm going to share in the chat too, if you don't mind,
Hmm.
those steps for claiming the
Yep.
business that's yours,
Perfect.
and also how to access that extra $10,000 there and the way they do that.
Yep. And you can send me that too, and I'll make sure that we post that with the video too.
Awesome. Yeah, I was pretty excited when I saw uh, they were giving up to 10,000.
Mm,
Um, and I was like, "Oh, I feel like I missed out. Can I reapply?" And I didn't know how to do it. You get a little confused sometimes on how to do these things. You're like, it can seem overwhelming, especially if you're not tech savvy. And so I just asked Chat GPT. I said, "Hey, how can I apply for the nonprofit for our church for the $10,000 grant?" And it spit out exactly what I needed to for that. And so our team is going to get on that and run with that for us.
how in depth is that?
Well, since it's all through your account, it was pretty easy
Okay.
to do when I read through it, because it allows you, since you already have the account, to kind of
Right.
just take everything
Hmm.
you have and run it through what you're applying for. Um, and we could even do an update one later if we want to of how to work through that process. I might be able to kind of screen grab each of those things, and we could use that as well.
And I wonder if because you're using it, they're going to be more leaning toward, you know, giving people the money that are already using it.
Oh yeah,
You think
absolutely.
you'll? You think,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what we've even noticed, even with the free stuff, the more you use Google, the more Google builds you up
right,
and promotes your stuff. So yeah.
right, right, right. So this is something people can do, tonight. You could go in and start, getting yourself verified and all that. And I think somebody mentioned getting 500. So when you first get verified, they just automatically give you a $500 credit toward doing ads and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, they did. I remember looking back on the bill when we started, and saw the months where we had just started and it was zero and slowly built into where we started paying a little bit. And then we increased our budget to actually contribute to that. So yeah, they do it automatically. There's not a whole lot of extra steps or printed paperwork that you have to fill out.
Yep. So somebody mentions that Google shows an ads credit of $1,000 when you spend $1,500. Is this different than the 10,000 one you mentioned?
Yeah, I don't know that for sure. I do know that Google does that because we eventually did this as well. When the more you start to spend, they also do kickbacks to you. The initial 500 was pretty easy. You didn't have to do anything as far as pay first. Um, but the 10,000, I don't remember seeing if that was a part of it. But again, we haven't been through that process yet to know for sure.
Yeah. So maybe what you can do is, maybe screen grab something and then send it to me and I can send it out and
Sure,
that'll be good.
we definitely can do that. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And to be honest, the way we have it spread out for our purchases on that and our budget, that could take us years to get through and spend. But if I'm going to invest 10,000 over, 8 years or so and get another 10,000 on top of it, I'd say it was still well worth the money invested into it.
Right. Yeah. And say a little bit about that, Logan. I think it's important that because sometimes, you know, churches are tight.
Yeah.
Our churches, we do our budget in July, so we're just starting to do our budget now, and and we certainly invest in our website. We certainly invest in our Facebook page, but we have a very small marketing. And so it might behoove us this year, to throw $500 in there and do something much more intentional, again, to grow the kingdom.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want this to sound like it's coming across as a business principle, but this is a stewarding principle here for us.
Hmm.
We You can boil it down really practically, right?
Right.
If you're reaching people with the gospel,
Hmm.
when those people's lives are transformed, part of that transformation and discipleship process is that they give. And so there's in some way where you're investing some, and the Lord says, because you're stewarding well and you're going after and you're reaching out, then I'm going to bless you in return. And we've seen that direct correlation. Like I said, we started with all the free stuff for a good while on most of all these things, and really only recently have started putting any money towards Google ads or anything like that. So you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to spend a lot. There are a lot of free things. You're just getting the Google
Right.
profile off the ground and making sure it's relevant and up to date. And using, we don't get really crazy on custom material. Staples and outreach.com have some pretty inexpensive things to do as far as printed material. Um, but you got to do it. Again, the not doing it communicates that either you don't care or it's not an important message. You don't want to be on someone's radar. I mean, I remember when we were doing some church planning training in the past, and this was a long time ago. I think the number was you had to have 7 touches
Mm,
before
yeah.
someone would even consider it.
Correct.
Um, so then add the factor in that you're talking about faith in the gospel. We know the Holy Spirit can do all kinds of things, and He does. Um, but just think about how much people are inundated with information. And then you take the internet
Right.
and churches that aren't at the top, or maybe it's the progressive church down the road because they're promoting just another pancake breakfast. Why shouldn't we be at the front for sharing the gospel? And so it's definitely some things to wrestle and invest and maybe even pray about stretching and putting some faith towards.
Right, right. And again, thinking about what's important and what's not, and you know, what's happening in the culture today. Not that we have to be the culture, but we have to be relevant to people,
Right.
in order for people to even find our church if we're not investing there. So,
Yeah,
somebody has a great testimony. We had guests on Easter that came as a direct result of us claiming our Google profile, and they saw us an updated profile, and we spent no money and only
that's
updated the
awesome.
profile week before. So,
Yeah.
so things that are coming up this summer: vacation Bible schools, right?
Yes.
You're doing you do your yard sale there. You're the room there, the history room.
It's room. Yep.
And so you need to be thinking about, why wouldn't I put that stuff on there? If Google is going to promote it for me, why not?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because
Right.
and that's the thing is
Yeah.
right now most churches aren't using it. And so Google sees it as in their algorithm, you're an active business. Whether you really understand that you're a church or not is
Right.
who cares?
Yeah.
You're an
Right.
active
Right.
organization for them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, put it on
Yeah.
there. Any event that you're doing, let it be an
Hmm.
outreach opportunity.
Cool.
And yeah, I love what he said, no money. And we've seen that happen too. No money, just doing it.
Right. And again, like in our church's case, I do think that it does say something to the church, to the members too, that okay, we want to we want to reach out. And if that means we need to have a little bit more advertising budget, doesn't mean you have to just use it, on Google, but even the print stuff, I mean, we still do
Right.
postcards sometimes. We
Yeah.
don't do a lot of that, but again, it's not bad to do it. We put QR codes on everything that we do. But again, what are those strategic things that really would help build a kingdom?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
And I, it
I
doesn't
like that.
mean stop having your church people learn how to share the gospel and invite
No,
people to
right.
church.
No,
This is just supplemental.
correct.
This is casting larger nets. That's all
That's
it
right.
is.
Right.
Instead of going the one-on-one fishing, let's cast the larger net. And so if Google is going to allow us to use them as a net, then we'll let the Lord bear the fruit from that.
Right. And I would couple that with the fact that you get people in, and then you have to think about, am I following up?
Yes.
Because once you get people in, now now you're responsible, don't you think? Once you get
Yes.
people's names, you're responsible for them, and so there
Yeah.
needs to be, again, an intentional way of following up. And so, on the 28th, I'm going to be doing another follow up, because that's one of the things that doesn't get done most in a church.
Hmm.
Follow up is, I think, what we struggle with the most.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. I don't
you
think we
know
would have people do reviews and things like that if we didn't do follow-up. So follow-up plan is important, and I hope people really tune into that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And one thing I would say, you've already said it, in your bulletin, if you want to get your folks to maybe do a review on Google and help you build that, put a little QR code in your bulletin, they take it home,
mhm.
and ask people to do that. So
Yeah.
again, that's how same thing with YouTube. If you want
Hmm.
your YouTube page to grow, because I think you have to get 1,000 people on your YouTube page to get to a certain level where it's easy to find. But it's the same thing. And again, it's free. So why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
I'm all for
Yeah.
free.
Me too. Me too.
Give me a coupon any day.
That's right.
Okay. I love it. All right. All right. Okay. So, any last words here before I have you tell us all about the next thing you're doing, which has been, um, people are interested in big time?
Yeah, no, I use this. Don't waste it, especially if God has given us the platform. We know that God is working in people's hearts and his mind and their minds, And we pray in this process and with these tools that God will cross our paths with those He's working in. When you do that, you'll see God do incredible things in your life, the church, through this. So, and then Chat GPT is our next one. I don't know what I'm doing with that. I'm just playing with this. But this has been a really, really good tool. I'm not ahead of anyone in this, but we've found some things for our church that have been able to help us be concise and be strategic, to think through some shortcuts that maybe some needs we have as a church that in past days we might have hired for this, but now we have some tools that are able to help us move as an organization, and some cohesiveness as teams, efficiency, and think through some things strategically. So I'm going to be sharing about this Monday, June 3rd. And hopefully we'll have some good conversations on here and questions like that as well on how we can maximize ministry with ChatGPT.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people, not only in New England, but outside of New England that heard we're doing this. So they're going to be tuning in. So, reserve your seat, go to bcne.net/events and join us. And of course, I'll be finishing the recording and editing it in the next couple of days. So when I send that out, I'll also send you that link. But I hope this was helpful. So what I want you to do is before we go, I want you to write something in the chat that you're going to do based on what Logan has talked about tonight. Because one of the things I always say, oh, we do all of these great webinars. So now what are we going to do with them when we leave here? So, so put that in there, and tell us, what are you going to do with this? Somebody's going to review their site tomorrow. Very good. I like that, Michelle. Excellent, excellent. See, and it only takes a little bit. It only takes a little bit. But who knows? Who would have thunk? Unless somebody, told us how to do this. That it's so easy to do. So. All right, somebody's going to start utilizing their free ad budget. Very good.
Nice.
And you're going to start working on a code. Well, one is to claim our business. There you go. Well, I know I'm doing that tonight. Okay, good. All right. Well, Logan, thank you for joining us. And I'm glad people are putting stuff in the chat. Somebody's got a list, update your information. And, yeah, I mean, really, this was very eye-opening. I mean, again, we use Google, and it's funny. I see other churches and they have all this information. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. They must be pretty special. Well, guess what? Tomorrow, I'm going to be special.
That's right.
All right. I just love it. Well, thank you, Logan.